Hey guys, making a video. This is going to be my last video. This one I'm going to be talking about the college football playoff. What, and like I've said, definitely, my opinion was that the football committee got it right. I'm looking now even more so at the stats even closer. I'm trying to actually think if any of these, really more so these arguments I've been getting commented on my videos, seen in other people's videos commented, um, arguments with the press, I would say, or on TV networks on how why Florida State should have gone in, and really who it is, if there is a person or a group of people, or definitely multiple factors, are really who to blame, really, because I do think it's a little silly, um, the reactions and the arguments. So I'll get right into it. I mean, first off, why isn't the 12 um, the 12 team bracket in, um, or 12 team bracket, playoff bracket in? And I think really it should start there, because this is really what was the first thing that affected this season. So this is before the season even started. This was last year, actually in February 18th, 2022. And I will let you guys cool. So as you can see, reported ACC, Big Ten, and Pac-12 voted against expanding the college football playoff, and that is against expanding the college football playoff for this year. And I know you guys can definitely pause at any point and read this. Definitely can look it up. It's from Sports Illustrated, and yeah, Big Ten and Pac-12 were the most vocal about it, wanting to have a 12-team bracket, and then they kind of went backwards. But the representative for the ACC voted against it. So, like, I would say, as far as like commissioner of ACC, maybe I would start with the argument of, should you guys be blaming him for the position you're in? At that point, there would have been a 12-team bracket. You got Florida State would have been in. And to be honest, looking at the mock-ups of what a 12-team bracket would look like this year, I think it would have been good. Liberty would have gone in, and I think Liberty, if Florida State's in, I think Liberty should get a chance to get in. I think that Georgia is a fantastic team still, even though they lost to Alabama. I think they're great. I was actually a little surprised that Georgia didn't get in. And I was surprised that Georgia was behind Florida. So, and that was another factor, is I think that Florida State actually really got lucky not even being dropped even more. And yeah, that's going to be a lot of the factor of going with a second string and a third string quarterback, because your quarterback got hurt, which 100% is out of the control. Injuries happen, but it's the same as with NBA. It's the same with NFL. It's the same with MLB. Injuries happen, and sometimes that can take you out. That is something that's put in as far as what to look for when deciding a team. I know Florida State fans, you don't want to hear that, but it is in like what they would vote for and vote against, which has been public for a while. It's been that rule for the playoff committee, as far as for who they want in and out, has always been there. It just, they never actually had a reason before. The other thing is saying how, Alabama's getting this favorable opportunity and this and that. I don't really feel that, because if that was the case, TCU wouldn't have been in last year. I think when the committee was looking as well is at the playoff brackets and who they would have in and out. I think what happened last year with TCU getting crushed in the national championship wasn't good. It wasn't good for the playoff committee. It looked bad on them. And yeah, Alabama proved it. They played their next game and they won. And they won easily. And they had an argument that they should have been in. So, once again, I'm going to say this again and again. Florida State, you need to beat Georgia. You don't beat Georgia, there is no need or no reason or anything about talking about an undefeated team, undefeated year, because you don't have an undefeated year. You lost to Georgia, and you lose credibility on that argument, which is really the one argument that you guys are really arguing about, is saying that we're undefeated, we should be in. There are 5 Power 5 teams, and there's only 4 playoff spots. So there is going to be a Power 5 team left out, or Power 5 conference left out, and Power 5 teams can be left out. I mean, that's what happened with Georgia. They played really good all year, and they lost the last game to Alabama, and they're out. It's just how the system is set up. Now, is the system rigged? Is the system this and that? I mean, that's what I'm talking about. I don't like the 4-team playoff bracket thing. I think that it should have been 6. I think 12 is so kind, so favorable. It is insane. And I think they're really trying to lengthen out the schedule for college football to make more money. And I don't think that's necessarily good for college players. But yeah, I mean, once again, if you're going to blame somebody on that, I would blame Stephen A. Smith, because he brought that up. He brought that up, that TCU had a very bad loss last year due to a somewhat similar situation. So, I mean, you could blame TCU, you could blame Stephen A. Smith. That's not Alabama. That's not SEC. When looking at the stats, as this player stats for the season thus far for Alabama and for Florida. So Florida State, obviously, they have Jordan Travis at quarterback for primarily most of the season. Much better than Jalen Milroe. Although Jalen Milroe, if you wanted to look more in depth, he has been progressing. He has gotten better. He also was out for a game. So, I mean, there's different factors to that. If you're looking at rushing yards, the running back, they actually been doing better than Alabama. You might be like, oh my gosh, wow. The reason why Florida State was doing so well, I'm putting out, is because they had an amazing quarterback, an amazing leader, and coordinating the plays during those games. Once they lost their quarterback, that's just been non-existent. I mean, even looking, the only thing that Alabama is so much stronger in is receiving yards. But Florida State has a really good defense, right? Well, look at tackles. Top player for tackles, Tatum Bethune of Florida State has 71. So look at Alabama, Caleb Downs, 99 tackles. Look at interceptions. For defensive back, Taron Arnold has 5. Florida State's defensive back has 3. That's the top defensive back, top interception player. So I mean, it is going where I'm looking at the statistics. I'm looking at the facts. Trying to really figure out where things could have really broken down for them. And it really starts right there. There's an argument of, well, strength of schedule is not that great. And look at that. Where is Florida State? So this is Football Power Index. And when we're looking at ranking, Alabama is 5th right now. And Florida State is at 11. So that's really what it goes for that. But there's an argument that that's not really the right one. It's really strength of record. If you look at a strength of record, well, look, there's Florida State number 3. But look at Alabama is ahead of Texas. They're number 4, and Texas is number 5. Yes, Alabama beat Georgia. That propelled them to move up. Texas actually was really far behind. So if you're going to make an argument on that, don't be upset at Alabama. I would be more so upset on Texas. And this is all gets put into a computerized generator that does all the hard work for us. It's not generated by people who can make mistakes. That's what happens. By looking also at games in general. And you can always say that Alabama had a loss. There's been years where a team had a bad game. That has always happened. I mean, if you want to use Alabama as an example, Alabama lost to LSU. Then they played LSU for the national championship and they won. So I know that there are lots of games that people are talking about, like, oh, this was a close win, this and that, blah blah blah. There's been a lot of blowout wins, and sure. Mississippi State, Alabama wins 40-17. Alabama beat LSU 42-28. Alabama beat Kentucky 49-21. Alabama beat Chattanooga, which is a no-brainer team, 66-10. So they've had outstanding wins too. They beat Mississippi. That was a 24-10 win. So, yeah. As far as for Florida State, their game, which was the game they lost their quarterback in, was tough. And halftime it was 10-7 Florida State. Immediately they get 14 points, which is impressive. But against Pitt, who has had only 2 wins, they struggled. And want to look at outstanding wins. North Alabama won 58-13. Clemson 31-24 by a touchdown. Virginia Tech, they won by. That was. I would argue and say that's one of their most impressive wins. Virginia Tech, 39-17, just because that's always a big game, and Florida State LSU, 45-24. So, yeah, I mean, they have impressive wins. Oh yeah, Syracuse and Wake Forest. I'll just say blew them out, but that was also with their starting quarterback. When it went to without the starting quarterback, 24-15 against Florida, and Florida State versus Louisville, 16-6. Which, to be honest, that Florida State game against Louisville was really bad. The defense, your guys' defense, really carried out the win. But yeah, I'm throwing out the facts there. Should Alabama have been in the playoffs? And I am saying yes, without a doubt. Yes, I am an Alabama fan. I've been raised that way. By my dad. My dad went to University of Alabama. But to be honest, I really root just because that's his team. My team, as you can see, is Oregon State. I think if there was an Alabama fan that was as understanding, as impartial as could be, that would be me. I've been to 0 Alabama games this year, and I have been to 4, maybe 5 Oregon State games this year. Yeah, actually 5 Oregon State games this year. So, I mean, definitely, my team is going to be Oregon State, which is clearly on the other side of the country from Florida State. And yeah, I know that there are people saying, in the comments, you don't really know this, and people are always going to say that. I mean, I'm saying, I played this and that, and anybody could say anything behind a computer when typing. Anybody can say that. The arguments that Florida State should have been in ahead of Alabama, I don't even think that they're even arguing against the right people. Yes, they should argue with the committee a little bit, but to be honest, it was Stephen A. Smith bringing light to the fact that the TCU thing happened the year before. It's also that the ACC, they voted themselves out of the playoffs, and they wanted to go to, I guess, Big Ten or SEC. They wanted to leave. That hasn't been new news. That's been around for a while. Florida State wants to move on from the ACC. They put themselves in a tough position saying that as well. Do I think that Florida State should move to another conference? Yes, I think they really should. I think, if anything, this proves that they should be in another conference, because ACC is not what it used to be. Clemson is not as good. They've been going downhill, and their most outstanding wins, Florida State's most outstanding wins, has been against teams that are out of their conference. So, yeah. It is what it is. I think the committee 100% got it right. I'm standing firm on that. I think that these arguments that Florida State fans are making is really bad, and really all they're doing is complaining and moaning and well we're undefeated, this and that. Conference does matter. If you want to get into a stronger conference, prove that you guys are good, which you did this year, and push forward to being in a different conference. If you gotta pay yourself out doing that. The reason why I'm saying that is also because of Oregon State. Oregon State did not do that. The athletic director in Pac-12, that whole thing, many mistakes were happening, which didn't Oregon State have opportunities earlier on? It's tough to say, but I think that Oregon State could have done more to move to a different conference or even a better conference. But yeah, I mean, Oregon's. If you're looking at the playoffs, what it will look like in the future, and this and that, this argument Florida State fans are having, it's going to happen at number 12, 13, and 14 positions. I think it's going to happen no matter what the teams are. I thought 6 would be perfect. That's what I want to think. That's what I believe. This format of 6 teams would have been in a playoff format. Seems like it would have been good. It wouldn't have been too many games. I think that it should, if they're going to really want to be into a 12-team playoff bracket, that they should at least do it slowly. That's what my thoughts are, my opinion. But yeah, I mean, the committee got it right. I think the committee did show Florida State's a little bit of sympathy on the rankings of putting Florida State ahead of Georgia, because I still think Georgia is much better. They do have their quarterback, their starting quarterback. They had some pretty good stats, but I mean, what has happened has happened. It's the same thing as to what happened last year with Alabama. What has happened has happened. I did not like how the rankings were last year for the college football playoff. Alabama should have been in. And, you know, it didn't happen. Alabama proved themselves. Did that really do much as far as for the arguments of the playoffs? Not that year that they were out, but it definitely played into effect for this year. And I think that's something really to consider as a Florida State fan going into the future. You're not playing just for this season. You're playing for the next season, the next group of guys going into your football program. And I think that you guys got to prove yourselves. That's what it really is, as far as winning against Georgia. The fact that you guys are saying, well, we don't have to prove ourselves, leads me to think that you guys don't really believe that you're going to be able to beat Georgia. Out of all the comments and arguments, I have seen one fan comment saying Florida State can beat Georgia. I believe that 100%. And I have much respect for that fan, because clearly he is a fan of Florida State. I have a lot of respect for that, because clearly he is behind his team thick and thin, just like head coach has been behind his crew thick and thin. And that is, I would rather have 10 of those fans than 100 fans who cry about how we should have been in and don't really bring up facts. I was just bringing in a little bit more facts, a little bit more of an understanding of, yeah, looking at the stats, looking at the record, looking at this and that, blah, 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 and the games and whatnot as a whole. And what's happened before the season and what's going to happen after the season. So, I mean, and if you're looking at, even if you're looking at the plays, like, Alabama, you can tell Alabama's offense is much better just by the play calling. So, but anyways, this is going to be the last video I'm going to talk about this. I stand 100% firm on this. I had a lot of sympathy, and it was frustrating. I felt frustrated for Florida State, but yeah, I think I'm not feeling that anymore. With the arguments and the complaints, it's just the fans are being sad. That's what it is. The fans are being sad, and they think that they can argue their way into a playoff somehow, and that ain't gonna happen. What has happened, and you got to deal with it and kind of go out. It's really as simple as that. Life is not fair. It is what it is. Bye.